Hello friends, this is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and today I am broadcasting from the temple on Korriban. Keep in mind, this is Korriban, not Morriban. Just throwing that out there for all of you true old canon fans. I wanted to talk about the Sith Triumvirate Raid. Now, clearly, this is not where this takes place. I feel like since Traya and the others are preoccupied at Traya's temple, probably a safe place to come to Korriban to do this show. The most recent dev blog has introduced 3 fundamental changes that the developers are going to be making. First, to the Sith Triumvirate Raid, then based on feedback, next to the heroic tank and the pit raid, right? I am really excited about this. There are 3 major sections in this post that I'm going to be covering, in 3 major sections of this video that I'll be covering. The first is the improving of the underlying quality of the gear drops. Now that's going to be important. Then there's going to be what they call a flattening of gear drops. Then finally, they're increasing and rescaling the guild currency and guild event token payouts. Now, I'm going to go in depth and talk about what each one of those means and what they mean for you as an individual player and as a guild. So essentially this first section really focuses on the mystery boxes that are available at the end of each raid, right? When you beat a tier, then a box opens up to you and you can get a piece of salvage, or you get a full piece of gear. So starting at tier 4 and above, they're going to be now overwhelmingly, quote, focused on more difficult to obtain gear salvage, more narrowly focused on the gear needs of guilds working towards completing the tier in question 1 to 2 times a week. So what does that mean? If you're using specific teams at tier 4, those teams are going to be lower level. And so what they're saying is, hey, we know what teams will work best, and we know what gear those characters need. So that does kind of narrow down who you should be farming. I mean, it doesn't narrow it down much by any means, and I won't say that it does, but it does indicate that, hey, these are people that you should be putting your gear on, right? So essentially, what gear, as you keep track of whatever gear you're receiving, you're going to start noticing a pattern. What are being dropped more and more often? Then who are the characters that need those pieces? So keep that in mind. Now, that they said that these boxes have had all of their challenge gear and other gear likely to be highly stockpiled by level 85 players completely removed from salvage. So what does that mean? If you have 1,500 of something, you're probably not going to see it pop up. Now, unless you have 1,500 Carbantes, and I don't know any player who does, that you're not going to see stuff like that. However, you will still see those challenge pieces, but you will see them more likely as fully crafted pieces. Now, that's tier 4. Now, if you're doing the heroic, you're probably going to see a lot more of those show up. Now, again, don't jump the gun, but make sure that you can complete the heroic before you really attempt it, right? Make sure that you're, rocking tier 6 before you attempt heroic, because there is a big level gap between those 2 phases. They finished when released, the next set of gear will enter circulation at first exclusively through tier 7 or heroic mystery boxes. So what does that mean? That means they're thinking about how to fully craft a Gear 12 character. Maybe that's going to come with a level increase. I mean, eventually it will. Eventually it's going to come with a level increase. Again, eventually it's going to come with, that. But what does that mean? That means get to heroic as fast as you can. Identify what drops you need, identify what teams are best, and then start focusing on those teams. Stay focused, guys. The name of the game is focus. Now, moving on, flattening of gear drops. All players within a guild will receive a raid gear mystery box of the same quality, regardless of their rank in the raid. So, whether you're 50 or whether you're first, you're going to see at least one mystery box that everyone's going to receive, right? You're going to receive at least one of those quality. That is very beneficial to it's really beneficial in my mind to all levels of guild. Even those Krakens out there are going to have people who need different gear pieces. So what you're going to see is those who are level 50 or who are in the bottom of the barrel, who aren't getting the highest, are still going to be rewarded, which means you are still going to have a chance to build up your teams to face heroic sooner. If you're just starting like tier 3 or tier 4 of the STR, then it's not likely that you're going to be battling heroic anytime soon, but it is likely that you're going to be making more progress than you did before. And I think that's a really cool thing. I think that's really going to be something that's going to help a lot of people out. All of these next mystery boxes will depend on which tier you're actually attempting, but it'll be a uniform chance of dropping a complete piece of gear. So what does that mean? If you're going in at tier 1, you know, your chance might be 10% of getting a full piece of gear. Maybe heroic, it's likely that you'll get a full piece of gear. I don't know, maybe it's 50-50. I have no idea. So it'll be a uniform chance to drop a complete gear of prototype, a guaranteed amount of salvage of difficult relevant gear. So you will get a guaranteed amount of Carbonti pieces, of the stun guns, of random stuff that is still needed. So they said to compensate for this flattening of the gear side of rewards, the curve of guild currency and guild tokens rewards has been made more steep. All guild currency drops have been increased and the curve steepened, as mentioned before. So number 1 players, you're going to be getting a lot. Now, this will increase by tier and by rank, but all player rewards are up an average of 20%, and top 1 to 5 ranked player rewards are up significantly more than that. Now, I don't know what's significantly more, but let's continue. Special attention has been paid to increasing the rewards to better fit the difficulty of the Sith Raid tiers 5 and 6 for the populations of guild currently running those tiers, and to rewarding guilds for moving up to and performing well in those tiers. Again, what does that mean? If you are you're in the top 5, guess what? You're going to be I'm thinking that we're going to see something like a territory war level of coins. That's what I would like to see. Maybe more than just a couple hundred. I'm thinking probably a couple thousand, maybe even 3,000 to 5,000. That is my fingers crossed hope for what that means. If you are up there, if you're carrying your guild, you are going to be rewarded for it. You are going to be given, meaningful compensation. Now, is the overall increase reward meaningful? And their response is, yeah, we really think that this is meaningful. We really think that this is going to be something that players will benefit from. Will players be happy with the normalization of gear boxes? Again, yeah, we think so. It's tough. We get it. The Sith Triumvirate raid is tough because if you're scoring low, I mean, if you're in the top 5%, top 1% of your guild, I mean, it's frustrating to carry your guild, but if you're on the bottom 50, it helps. And it's exciting when you're one of those lower end character players to do well and to get a great piece of gear. I love that. And I'm excited for that. Why haven't you removed all gear from all tiers, or all challenge gear from all tiers? And the response is, hey, look, because there are still people that need it. There's still guilds out there that need it. There's new guilds, there's new players, and tiers 3 and below are meant to be those, to help those guilds. And if your guild has an average galactic power of, I don't know, 2.5 million or above, you probably shouldn't be playing tier 3 or 4. You should probably be 5 or 6. And with that, the challenge, they've addressed the challenge gear in those tiers. So I think that's nice. Can I still get Carbonti, stun cuffs, all the other crap? So their response is, yeah. The high demand stuff, we understand that they're difficult to get. They're still there, right? And we've just increased the ability to get that kind of stuff. Now, what I think is going to happen is I think that we're going to see in both the Rancor raid and the tank raid, I think we're going to see kind of a rise in different things. So if you're one of the top 25 who can just auto the Rancor raid, you may be getting 1 or 2 or 3 complete pieces. I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see a lot of the challenge gear starting with the Rancor raid being like complete pieces. I think that's how they will change it. Then moving to the heroic tank, I think we'll see maybe a few of those more high-end pieces be thrown in there for top players. I think we'll probably see more when it comes to tank. I think we'll see more completed pieces for the top whoever finishes, right? I think for that number 1 player who scores the highest, I think what we're likely to see is more completed pieces of challenge gear, that difficult challenge gear, and then more of the unfinished pieces, more of the unfinished salvage pieces for the higher end, the gear 12s type stuff. I think that's what we'll see. That would make sense, because if you're doing heroic Rancor, if you're doing heroic tank, and then you're doing heroic STR, it should be a pyramid. It should be stacked to where it's like Rancor is that first one that you enter, and that's the first one that you master as a guild. Then tank is the next one you enter, and the next one you master. Then Sith Triumvirate should be the hardest currently. Then once they move on, there will be a 4th one, right? Because eventually we'll be able to solo on auto the tank, and eventually we'll be able to, solo entire phases, if not people haven't already done that already, for the STR. And I think that's at least the concept, right? As they become more difficult, you will be rewarded appropriately. Now, final question. By placing top 3, I help lead my guild, and this is what I've talked about. What are the benefits for me? Answer? I'm just going to read this. Heroic raids represent some of the most epic rewards in the end game, and top performers will be rewarded handsomely across all categories. Some top ranks are now rewarded nearly double the guild currency and the guild event tokens. That is a lot. Future releases and the unusual strong utility of raid characters like Han Solo and, so on and so forth will continue to reinforce that high-ranking players will still be rewarded for their standout performance. What does that mean? Maybe you're going to be getting more shards. Maybe instead of getting 8 or 10 shards player 1, maybe you get 15 or 20. That would be kind of cool. It would really make wanting to, enter into those final phases of the raids that much more of a desire for the entire guild, and 2, make it more challenging and make it more like, hey, I really want to get the top feel here because I want 25 Treya shards or whatever it ends up being. But I do think that's what that means here is if you are number 1, you're going to get a lot more shards. You're going to get a lot more currency. You're going to be rewarded. What it will actually look like, I'm very curious. I do believe that this information is this event will drop sometime in the next week. I think it's likely that we are going to see something before the middle of next week that allows for this. There is a Q&A on Friday, the 6th of April. It's starting at 12 p.m., or PDT, whatever that means, whenever that is. Stay attuned to it. Stay alert to it. But with that, I do think that we'll probably see all of this stuff go into effect mid next week at the very latest. Now, things can change, but I do think by next Wednesday, we will see something of this in place. Now, we won't see any real adjustments to the tank or the Rancor anytime soon. I would probably say maybe the start of May. They're going to collect data. They're going to gather information. They're going to run tests and reports and listen to player feedback. So Open your mouths. Give feedback, guys. Let them hear what you think of this stuff. Now, let me hear what you think of this stuff. I do have a direct line to some of the devs, and I do make my voice heard. I'm very excited about the future of this game, and I'm really excited for just Star Wars in general. Now, stay tuned to see where I'll be broadcasting from on my next planet. I'm really excited to know. I'm not necessarily sure where I will be. Leave a comment in the section below. Like, subscribe, share. Let me know what you guys think of this and what you really hope for comes from these changes on the Sith Raid. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, stay nerdy.